All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today we have Mia, the director of Fruge LLC. Did I say it right?
You got it.
You might also know them as Jt Meleck. And we are going to have a conversation about all the cool stuff that they're doing. And we're just going to have a little conversation and see where it goes. How do you like my little intro? I don't know if you can see it on your side, but
I was wondering if people could see me because I'm like...
yeah, exactly. No, I don't think so. But anyway, I'm trying to get, better about doing all the intros and stuff like that. But man, it's hard when you're doing this by yourself. It makes it really difficult. All right, Mia, go ahead and let's start with why do this? Why do your job?
Man, I think I ask myself that question every day. Why are we doing this? Because it's a really funny question, because why we started and why we continue are definitely two different things. And how we got here, I have no idea. I have no idea how to solve one problem, it turned into this, which is like mind-boggling. So basically, to back it up, rice farming every kind of crop will, just like everything, goes up and down. It evens out. The value of it goes up. It plummets. It does all this stuff. And so that's kind of how the development of agriculture always is. Farmers are constantly having to adapt to what's going on, whether with Mother Nature or the economy or things that are happening. Rice specifically in South Louisiana dipped in the late 70s. And that's how aquaculture came in. LSU Ag were doing research based on crawfish and rice being basically inverted. They complement each other. So rice, the value of a rice crop wasn't sustainable enough to just be rice farmers. So people were just rice farmers, or just did beans, or just did this, and they couldn't do that anymore. So that's when crawfish came in the early mid 80s. And my father and uncle were one of the first farmers in this area to bring on and make their crop both crawfish and rice. That's how we became Fruge Aqua Farm. So we're on our rice and crawfish farm in Branch, Louisiana, which is a blinking light in the middle of nowhere. It's basically our farm. You will miss us if you don't know where it is. We're about 10 minutes from I-10, about 25 minutes outside of Lafayette. And so the same thing happened in the early 2000s. Is the value of rice. Everybody's got crawfish now. You can import it from other places. You can freeze it. You can do that. You can, all kinds of stuff. That the value of both things were plummeted so rapidly that the report was showing that we wouldn't be able to sustain this. So we've been on our farm I'm the 5th generation. And this was not something that we were going to be able to sustain long term in terms of my daughter or her kids or whatever it may be. And so we were kind of early before it hit. What can we do to maintain 5th, 6th, 7th generation? 6th, 7th, 8th generation? And what can we do with our rice to add value so we can continue to plant? Because we were literally in a meeting where my father was telling my uncle to stop planting. And my uncle was just looking at him like he's a crazy person. And the conversation basically went, we can't plant anymore. Don't plant. And the other one goes, no, I'm planting tomorrow. And he's like, no, we can't plant. And he's like, I'm planting tomorrow. Like, and everyone's just kind of like, who's going to win? And it's just like, you just don't stop. You can't stop. This is just generations of stuff. And so we're just stuck. We came up with a couple ideas. None were really, didn't really make sense. And somebody made a joke. Like, we were on the cusp of, I don't know what the heck was going to happen. And somebody was like, oh, y'all just need to relax. Take your rice and make some vodka or something. Like, y'all make a drink and chill out. Like, that's what it was. We were so high strung. And my father is a martini guy. He's always been very picky about his vodkas, very specific. And so they were directing the vodka comment at him because he's a vodka drinker. Right. And he didn't laugh. He was like, what did you say? And he was like, I'm just joking. I'm just making a joke. Like, let's relax, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, seriously, what did you just say? And it kind of came from then. We just started Googling, and then we were all kind of like, can you do that? And then there was no research. There was just nothing there. And so went to these conferences. He hopped on a plane. He went to the ADI conference. He's calling everybody. We're doing research. I'm traveling around trying to go talk to other distilleries and hey, rice, we're just all over the place. Yeah. And now everyone's just like, no, rice? No. What? And we're like, so the entrepreneur and my father, he's man, anytime he's super quiet, you're like, oh crap, he's making another company. Like, what idea is he having? Stop! Stop with the ideas. And so the entrepreneur in him, the vodka really, I mean, we were going to do this to make like moonshine in the backyard for our family. And we did for a few years. Like, we made this vodka just for us and we would share it with friends. And then people started like, oh, are you going to make more of that? And it became like, oh, this is really good. But the true reason that Jt Meleck was really something that we dedicated ourselves is because there's no such thing as an American style 100% rice whiskey, grain to bottle, done the way that we do it. And so the entrepreneur, the opportunity, and a lot of people will say, does it really make sense to, you're losing value in your rice crop, so then you put barrels down that you don't know what they're going to taste like? How is that a sustainable venture? It's not.
It's not. No.
One. It's now one, now that it tastes good, but it wasn't. We were crazy. We were out our damn mind. But, you know, the greatest things, I guess, come from that. Absolutely. And so the why, the long story to answer, but the why came from to keep our family going, to keep the farm going. We needed to do something. And why do we do it now? Now, a little bit of a, holy shit, this is really good. And now we're really competitive. And now we're like, let's do this thing. And like, we have no idea what we're doing. We just make it up as we go every day. Right. And I think that's might be what helps us a little bit, because we're not kind of filtered by how this industry is, which is very weird, I guess is the best way I can put it. If we had known what we knew about this industry now, I would have been like, no. Hard no. The tier system, the laws, how it's all crazy. But that's a long drawn answer to why.
It's actually the perfect answer to why, because obviously if you can continue to put food on your family's table, that's a good enough why, let alone generations past keeping their legacy going. And it might change a little bit, because obviously they weren't doing whiskey back then, but you know, with change, you know, comes good things as well. So that to me is really, so tell us a little bit about, because I'm interested in this, and I know it's not whiskey related, but like, is rice really that big of a crop in Louisiana? I mean, I'm just right next door, and I'm like, I don't know if I've heard of rice from Louisiana.
That's funny. It's really big, but we're not. Louisiana's not the biggest. It's a top 3. So it's really? Trying to think of what the third one is, but Arkansas. Basically, the whole state of Arkansas is just a big old rice crop.
Really? Okay.
There's not a lot of people that live in Arkansas. It's a lot of farmland. I think there's probably other crops. I don't want to like ignorantly say that, but I did Google it one time, because I know that Louisiana is top, but we're small, which like by how much area we can crop, we're not as big as everything else. Which side note was really scary, considering alligators. We beat Florida by 2 million alligators per area. Which, if you look at this versus this, and we have more. There's a lot of swamp area, but we have, I Googled it one time. We personally have 5,000 acres. We do about 9 million pounds of rice, give or take, on Mother Nature a year. So that's what we do. And then we're not the only farmer, but I know that Arkansas is number 1. And obviously, like, America itself is not the number 1. I mean, China just blows you out, but how big they are with the different styles of rice, different ways of doing it. But yes, there's a lot of farmland. We have a lot of sugarcane in Louisiana as well. A lot of people will say that rice, why don't you use the sugarcane? But we are in Cajun country. We're right like kind of the heel of the boot. There's no sugarcane. You got to drive, I mean, at least an hour to get to the sugarcane. Once you do, it's just open-ended sugarcane.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. I never thought of it. Of course, you know, what do I know? But also the other thing that's really cool is you're using crawfish, which I love crawfish. We have a huge crawfish festival in our town every year. Tell us a little bit about the crawfish, and do they, I mean, obviously it's a symbiotic relationship with the rice. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there's no crawfish in our whiskey, none in our vodka. Y'all don't worry. It does not go into the fermenter tanks. I have had people ask me, and it's like, bless your heart. You know, they'll say, I know this is probably a stupid question, but somebody got in my head, and now that I'm worried. One lady was like, I'm severely allergic to shellfish. I know it's a stupid question, but I just want to make sure. I'm like, girl, you're good. People say it all the time. No, there's no crawfish in our fermenter tanks. So basically they work together. And so you can kind of think of when you have plots of land, we have 5,000, but if you take half of that, so of our 5,000, 1,000 of that is like non-farmable land based on what we need, like as in our office buildings and the storage and the distillery, and open it. We have our crop duster for planting. So we have a runway, an airstrip like that. All you take those pieces. We have some homes. We have our barrel warehouses, all that stuff. Of the 5,000, 1,000 is not actually plots of farming land. Could be, but we turned it into something else. And of that, you basically take half, but it works on not a calendar year. So farming is in its own. So the same thing when you look on our bottles and it says 4+ years, people say, why does it say 4+? Because we go on 4 summers and winters. We treat it like the rice crop that it is. So a barrel has to go through 4 complete summers and winters in order to be ready. But when it was put down, it could be over 5 years. It just depends on the time frame. And then whether it's ready. So our small batches will have a mix of things that are, at this point, some of them are going into their 6th year. Because we put down our first barrels in 2018. So we're going to have a 6 year later this year.
Oh, wow.
That's so really cool. I digress with my stories. I always do. But they help each other. So the crawfish and the rice basically give life to the other one. Now, when it comes to our Jt Meleck rice, we do plant a specific style variety of rice that we don't talk about, but that's made specifically for Jt Meleck. So it's not just like we just, let's just cut this and we'll use that. It's there was a lot of research. There was probably a decade of a lot of research into this to test different styles. And what's great about vodka being so quick is that we are able, that's why we use the same exact rice and almost the same process besides vodka and whiskey, because we tested about 7 or 8 different varieties of our rice before we decided on which one by our vodka. And if you've not had our vodka, it's actually really good. And so one season, so if you came to travel and you drove down the highway by our farm and you saw a crawfish pot, we're in the middle of crawfish season, you saw them pulling out, they're going on the traps and stuff. When you come back that next year, it'll be dry. And when you come, and a harvest season, when you come back a season, it'll be dry. When you come back again, it'll be rice. So it goes on each one. We just planted, we just finished planting last week. We will harvest in the fall, and then we start again almost coming into the summer. So it's kind of like a 8-9 month cycle, but then you have crawfish season. We usually put down and then flood, December, January. And I mean, this year was a really bad season. So they didn't come till like into February, March, but they usually will start coming in December. And so then you'll see those plots come out. And then the other plots are being prepared. So the ones that we just planted are not the ones that are currently in crawfish season, if that makes sense. Our Jt Meleck, we dedicate about 175 acres specific to Jt Meleck rice. That's only our rice. So we don't put crawfish in those plots anymore. They're specific. And so kind of unlimited. At one point, we can grow all the way to 4,000 acres of our variety for Jt Meleck. So the growth in terms of the plant is not unlimited, but for us, considering we put down 5 barrels a day, it's very much unlimited for what we can do grain to bottle. So I hope that answers your question. I'm a long storyteller.
No. And I love it. I love it. And go as long as you want. You said you're doing 5 barrels a day. I mean, that's a lot of rice running through there.
Yes, it is. That's like if our the problem child, aka our still, is operating. We actually just got another still, and if anybody follows along with our social, it is still on the ground. We have not put it up yet. It takes a long process of cleaning and getting and all. Just the whole thing. But we use a 1,000 gallon. We kind of work on 1,000 gallons, and our batch is 2,000 pounds of our rice. So the rice is husked, so we don't put it into like a powder. It doesn't have to be. It's basically like cooking rice in a rice pot. So it's 2,000 pounds of our rice comes back from the mill husked, such a weird word. That's the only time that the rice leaves. Our distiller will literally bring it to the mill, wait for it, it's slotted, he gets it, and he brings it right back. We do not drop it and risk getting the wrong stuff. And then 2,000 gallons, and of that'll pretty much get like 3.5 barrels if all goes well. And so we're kind of running 2. We're on a 2 shift, so we run from 5 a.m. to midnight per se. So we just got another still so we can do a 24-hour cycle and be full operational. And that's really to aid probably the same amount of whiskey barrels per day, but we're able to at the same time do vodka. Whereas right now we have a mixed still. So we have a column still. One part does the whiskey, the other part does the vodka. You could do a botanical container in order to do gin. We won't do that, but you have to stop doing one. So you have to completely clean out, do the whole process. And so the two will allow us to never stop, and we can continue to make barrels, which will up our production. But yeah, the problem trout is still, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
No, it's kind of it's the beast, it's the workhorse of the distillery, obviously. And I've heard from multiple distillers that say if something goes down on your chiller line or your steam jacket or whatever, you're shut down. Like you either got to fix it in the field or you got to wait for the tech to come and fix it. And good luck if he even knows what he's doing half the time. So it's
absolutely. And I think there's even another level to the grain to bottle that I think just makes it like, if you have a bottle of our stuff and us getting stuff out, like it's truly like incredible almost. I just mean from like when you see what we actually do, because in terms of like calling a specialist, there's no specialist. We have learned everything ourselves. Like our fermenter tanks literally have the welding lines because we built them ourselves. Like we have duct tape holding things together. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, that'll work. I literally today had to get a tasting rig together and I like couldn't find a box that would work. So I literally, our palletized saran wrap, I put it on the wrapper and rolled it in and just flipped it, sealed it, and shut it. Just like I went on a pallet and I was like, roll it in. There you go. Like, good luck opening that thing. And we just, every problem is like, crap. Like we're calling each other. You got this, you got that. Like we're all figuring it out. And hilarious story. We were doing a barrel pick one time, had this group, Brett, our distiller, he's setting it up. He usually like cleans it and tidies because we're very much like, it's a farm. We're building stuff. It's not like shiny and kind of made to be like when you go and visit places, they make it for aesthetically pleasing. Ours is the farm, which can be aesthetically pleasing depending on. And so I let him know. He usually cleans it up a little bit. And I ran out to grab the group and I came back and I was showing them outside. And this is the original 20 acres. That's where our brand's named after our great uncle, John Meleck. And so I point out his old house and as I'm walking in and all the doors are up and I saw out of the corner of my eye, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it's good weather, and we're coming closer and I see these blue bins, which is kind of like a dump bin, almost like a big trash can, but not a trash can. Yeah. And there's all this foam. It's like foam falling out of the thing. And I'm just like, what is that? And so in my head, I'm just trying to talk to this group. It's like 12 people. They're walking. And I'm like, oh my God, there's trash. Like in my head, I'm thinking he must have forgot. Like, Brett, why is there trash? We've got people, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I go to turn around and all of a sudden the guy goes, oh my God, is this how you transport your cooked rice? And I looked at him and I looked over and it wasn't foam. It was rice. It was cooked rice. The mash tun exploded. The whole top exploded off the thing. There's cooked rice coming in. Our distiller is in the mash tun. Our assistant distiller is out with a bucket and I pop my head in and the guy is going to take a picture of our cooked rice coming from you. Like we cook rice down the road and literally bring it to the fermenter tank already cooked. And I'm like, don't take a picture of that. Oh my God, that's not what's happening. And our distillers are just mid shovel and they look over and he wipes it. He goes, shit. That's all that's happened. And the group is like, oh no, what happened? And I'm like, our mash tun broke. This is not what we do. Brett's like, I'm removing our batch. It's going to be bad. I have to throw that away. I'm very clear in saying we have to throw this away. This is not our rice. I'm just waiting for some post Jt Meleck gets a Suan down the road to make their rice and they haul it in trash bins and toss it in the fermenter tanks. I'm like, but yeah, they had for a solid 2 weeks before a new part came in, we had duct tape holding the mash tun at the top held together for the steam. You have to hold it at one point and then you open it up to let it breathe. duct tape. At one point, he would just like hold it because it gets really hot. They had a thing where they had gloves and they were just like holding it down. Like, we got to keep going. So we were just
yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's life on the farm. You can't just, shut down just because something broke. You got to keep rolling with it. And obviously you guys are busy because you're running through material, but like, how do you project? And that I might be too far ahead of myself, but how do you project for the future like that? Because obviously you guys are, I'm going to say, a newer brand. You've been around for a while, but like, you guys are a newer brand. How do you just say, okay, we need to run 24 hours a day? Like, that's a big commitment on your guys.
It's a very big commitment. It is definitely a very emotional industry, extremely emotional. Like, I don't think I've ever, we have a lot. There's a couple of other companies, like everything on our farm. You can think about it like, if you make a plate, if your mom cooks and you make a plate, you better eat everything on that plate. Like, we don't throw anything away. That's pretty much how, because people are like, how the heck do you get from this to all these companies? And basically, we just don't waste anything. Everything has an avenue and it leads to something else. And so we have a couple of different things, companies. So I'm not always doing Jt Meleck, doing a couple, our whole farm operations right now. I'm deep into crawfish, all that stuff. And nothing is as emotional as Jt Meleck. And I'll tell you, it's just like, you try to run the data. There's really, it's a guess. It's like totally feeling. And I'm sure there's a specialist out there that has quantified how to do that. But for us, because we are brand new. We released our vodka in 2018. We put down our barrel. But in terms of introducing, we are brand spanking new. And we just launched our first like real state into Texas. And we've only been there for a few months. And so many people still don't know about us. And so we're very much still new to bat. And so I'm making decisions on, putting, and then that comes to the sustainability. Like, we have to put down, and there's no value to it until it's dumped and sold. And like, that's just something that unless you're in it, you don't understand. And every time they're like, we want more barrels. And I'm like, you have 5 years. And then I have to make the decision like, oh God, do we buy 1,000 barrels? And like, and cause we don't want to go into debt. That was not the point of this. Everything we do. So every time I sell a barrel, I can buy 3 more barrels. That's pretty much what it is. So I try to push it out, get people, like, inspire. I tell people, if you support our vodka, you support our small batch, and you support our small batch, and you support all of our barrels. Everything aligns and it supports itself. So basically, we sat around, we did the math of at what we're doing now, we are doing 1 to 3 a day. And that would get us to about 170 barrels for the year. Moving to the 5 with give or take, we get to 352. And so we basically capping ourselves like out on our growth. So we basically take our first launch and I look at a growth pattern and I basically make a guess on what I think, how people are going to respond. And then based on what I think they're going to respond, we make a decision to put down 900 barrels for 5 years. In order to do that, you have to get another still and you have to operate 24 hours, 6 days a week. So then you take all that and we sit around and we cry a little bit looking at all these things. And we basically gut wrenching, choose the button, and then we click it and they come and we just pray to God that it just keeps on moving. Cause, there's no answer. We literally, every single time we sit around and the response is my father comes in, he goes, how many barrels should we get? And it's like a hard meeting every time because you don't want to be short, like you don't want to be long. And we're still operating with the first batches of our barrels. We're still selling the barrels when everybody said that you couldn't do rice whiskey. Even to this day, like I'll sample it out at events. People are like, rice? Like you would think that thousands of brands failed at rice. Like you would think they were just like sitting on the shelves and, Weller himself came out and he was like, absolutely never distill with rice. That's never happened. But somehow we have this, or like, oh, it's a sake. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. Like, it's like calling a Dr. Pepper a bourbon or something. I'm like, no. And we just sit around and I do my best guess on like data based on the people, like, cause I very much interact with the people. and I give my wish list. This is where it would be. This is reality. And this is like, let's take a risk. And I put a number, and then we get our finance guy and we kind of do, and then we do. But I'll say, if there's a week where we just crush it, we have a meeting every Monday, numbers come back. So I said it's emotional. If all of a sudden it's like coming and people are posting, like, that's why I tell if you post and you tag us, all of a sudden me and my dad are like, let's do 1,000. Like, seriously. But if like all of a sudden nobody's talking about us, and like we had a like, I'm like, oh my God, pull it back to 7. We can't do the 9. Like every day it's just different.
Absolutely.
It's like staying consistent. Like, whew, it's just it's totally true. I saw this really funny meme, and it was this and it's just, I don't know who posted it, but it was like, I was going to give up beer today, but then I realized that there's a brewer out there just trying to feed his kids. So I can't give up beer today. I've got to go get one for the kids. And I shared it. I was like, just trying to feed my daughter over here.
Yep.
Just drink Jt Meleck.
Absolutely. And it is so cool to see yours. And I'm sure it's through your entire company, your drive and your initiative and your just the way that you do it is, you're just so excited about it. And that makes me excited about it, because like I told you in when we were contacting earlier, I've had y'all's whiskey before. I don't own a bottle because, like you said, you just got into Texas, but I've had it at samples of it and stuff like that. And it's an amazing whiskey. It's not bourbon, obviously, but like to me, it's like it gives you all the things you want in a whiskey without being. It's not single malt. It's not bourbon. It's its own thing, but yet it still has a lot of characteristics from some of those things. So it's really cool to see you guys so excited about the future of your particular brand. And do you feel that there are people out there already trying to get in your little niche?
I think so. I've heard way more people since we started, since I guess the little success that we have, how it's trended. We kind of like trend, but I don't mean trend like, usually that word kind of stands for like millions of people. That's not what I mean, but we're presence. We have active presence in like 41 consistent states. We ship through Bourbon Outfitters, and like every day there are people on my thing, like lighting up in these zip codes that are all across the country, which is, to me, the most amazing thing. I absolutely love when I see that our hard work is showing. Like, that's why I just wish that we could just, the law would just allow suppliers to sell to consumers. It's just absolutely insane, because I could just be, all these people want it, but you have to go through an entire state, and the distributor has to want you, and then you have to like do all these things, and the retailer has to want you, then the consumer has to find you, and it's like levels and levels, and it's like, I'm trying, and everyone's like, I just want it. I'm like, I'm doing my best. I'm trying. I want them to have it, you know? Yeah. And I got sidetracked. What was the question?
No, it's all right. It's all right. Hey, I told you I was going to get that too. So don't feel bad. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about, so like the things you're doing, you're in a specific growth pattern with your rice and stuff. And you might already have this in the books. Have you thought about like a bottled and bond type situation with your whiskey? Because it really does fit that mold of the original bottled and bond, the way they used to do it during one distilling season, during, all of that. Have you thought about that at all?
We almost did it. And, so everything we do is bottled and bond. But the thing that makes bottled and bond is it's the 100. Everything we do, our small batch is basically bottled and bond, besides it's 96 proof instead of 100. But the thing is that in order to do it, we would have to have a government representative come onto our farm and get into all of the back end and see all of our rice, all the processes, all the fermenting. And basically you have to put that in for a public viewing. So you basically have to, so it's basically showing a consumer can research every single bottled and bond and see exactly the details from start to finish on how it was basically grain to bottle a little. I mean, not really grain to bottle since I don't pen it, but we don't want that. We don't really want somebody coming in, snooping in ours. And then all that's doing is giving the recipe to a bigger brand that has more marketing dollars behind them. And we'll just, literally step on us like a roach, and then we'll never survive it. So we did. And then when we found that out, we nixed it. We are releasing, it's ready. I'm just waiting for it to get picked up. We're doing a new high proof. So it's a light blue label. So our cast strength ones, single barrels are dark blue. This one's light blue, and it's basically like 60% of that blue, and it's 118 proof. So it's really, really, really good. And then we're going to have a 6-year in a few months. So exciting stuff coming.
Awesome. Yeah, no. So tell us a little bit. I was looking on y'all's website. Do you have a restaurant as well, or no?
No, we don't have a restaurant.
I was on the wrong website. Where was I? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So you go ahead.
We have we're a seafood distributor. So we have Fruget Seafood.
Maybe that's what it was.
Our warehouse is out of Grand Prairie, Texas. Okay. And so we supply fresh seafood from across the world to restaurant partners in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. Okay. So most of our restaurants are in Texas. So they're not our restaurants, but we supply restaurants, and that's where a majority of our live crawfish go. So we send a big 18-wheeler filled with our live crawfish 3 or 4 times a week, depending on the catch and the sales, and it gets trucked and then delivered to those restaurants.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I was like, you said you had a farm, and just a lot of times you take advantage, like you said, of everything that's there. So what do you do with the rice after you've cooked it? You just dispose of it, or?
The spent grain, once the distillation process is done, will go to a cattle farmer that lives a couple miles from us and feed cows. Yeah, no, that's really cool, because you can. They're always looking for feed, and I've heard, now this is with barley and stuff like that. I'm sure it's probably the same with rice, that it's actually more easily digestible for the animals because it has been cooked and kind of broken down like that. So it's actually really good for the animals to get. So that's super cool as well. They look like they enjoy it. He'll send videos sometimes, and the cows just the tongue is like licking it all up, like looking around, just wants extra.
So you said that you had a vodka, and then you do the small batch, and then the cast strength or the single barrels or whatever. Is there any other products that y'all offer, or is that it for right now?
And then our high proof. So that is ready, launching. It'll be on Bourbon Outfitters probably earlier next week. It shipped out earlier this week, and I'm waiting for distributors to pick it up. So it's ready. It's launching any day now when they pick it up. And so we'll have that, and then we'll have a 6-year later this year. So we will have a total. We'll have I guess each single barrel is different, but I'm just going to count it as one SKU. Right. And so vodka, small batch, high proof, cast strength, 6 years. So five line.
That's awesome. And you're using the same process, just changing stuff up in the still. So it's like literally the same thing. That vodka sounds really interesting. I'm not a vodka guy, but it sounds really interesting.
What's so interesting is that our vodka is truly like made for people that say they're not a vodka person, because it doesn't taste like what you think a vodka would be. I'll say I'm the OG. I don't drink any other vodka. I don't drink vodka drinks. I don't drink any of that stuff, except I drink Jt Meleck. And I know it sounds like a biased opinion, right? But when my father was the vodka person, and when he wanted to do this, I was just like, in terms of being a brand that's only vodka, there's only one other brand out there who has successfully been like only that in this country. And I was just like, I don't know how we could compete with that. Like, that's completely different. And then he was like, try it. And I'm like, I don't want to, but okay. And I tried it, and I was like, holy crap, what? Like, and every single time, sometimes I'll even like mess with people, and like I'll be at whiskey events and stuff, and I'll say, I got something special for you. And I won't like show them the vodka drink, and they just think that it's the distillate. So they're like, oh, white dog, they'll try, and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, that's our vodka. And he's like, what? Holy crap, this is so good. Like I feel like most of our fans are men. Like, because especially bourbon drinkers, whiskey drinkers, everything that kind of gets into like flavors and tries different things and has a full lineup, appreciates. It has a nose, a palate, a finish. It It's very, very good. And it's most of the time, like, I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there who are like, I'm telling you, I told this girl she's crazy. And now, like, they drink more than their wife does. Like, they're like, oh yeah. I gave a guy bought a bottle the other day because I tasted him at an event I had a couple weeks ago. He's like, I still cannot believe I just bought a bottle of vodka. And then he sent one like 2 days later. He's like, update, there's this much left. Gotta get another one. And I'm like, yep, gotta get another one.
And how does that make you feel when you have clients that you've had already message you or shoot you DMs on Instagram or whatever and be like, your product is amazing. I was a little apprehensive, and now, or like when you do tastings like that and people are like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like, how does that make y'all feel knowing that you just kind of were winging it at first a little bit? Like, we don't know if this is going to work, if this is crap or not.
No,
like, we don't know.
It is. I'm definitely still winging it. We all are. Everybody here is. And it is. I definitely cannot even describe. It feels so good. Like, it is just like a rush of energy and motivation too. And I can't tell you how many times, like, every consumer matters. And I just, like, every single one. You message me. If I have not responded to you, I didn't see it. Like, I try to look at every single one and get through all of them. And some of my platforms do not send me push notifications, so it takes me a little longer, but I try. Every single person matters to me, and I want them to feel that experience and be connected to our family. But let me tell you, there have been some that have just been at the perfect moment because, like, I'm having a terrible day. It is very tough. Things went wrong. This isn't the direction. It's really tough when we have consumers that want it and they can't find it because there's just so many levels of distribution and retailers then put it in the right spot. And it's like, when it's uncontrollable, it's like, it's right there. It's right there, and they'll just send these great messages. And I love the people that are like, I just want to let you know that your spirits are incredible and just keep doing what you're doing. Like, thank you so much. And I like, literally, I would just, like, a whole burst of energy, and I'm ready to, like, let's do this. It helps us keep going when we're having, like, really down weeks and making decisions 5 years from now. It's indescribable. I appreciate every single one of our fans that are just, like, got our back and preach for us.
Absolutely. Because in the end of the day, the whiskey community, we'll call it that, we're all here just to help each other out. You're here to help me out just the way that I'm here to help you out. I want to promote you guys to the end of days. In turn, I hope somebody promotes me. That's that sort of thing. And if as long as you're transparent, like you guys are being, and you're excited about your brand and you make good stuff, that's the other thing. And you make good stuff, then people are going to flock to it. And you're going to be like, oh, we got to get another still now because now we need to run 36 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's not, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like, you want to get it to where you're like, we need a whole nother facility, because you're having to lay down so many barrels or the distributor saying we can't sell your whiskey enough. We bought 7 pallets and we need more right now, so that's what. And do y'all in Louisiana, do y'all have like a whiskey festival or anything like that? Because I know that coming up, it'll probably be after this video airs, but coming up is our Texas Whiskey Festival, and it showcases all Texas whiskeys, right? Is there anything like that in Louisiana?
We don't have one like that because I had sent an email and I like felt so stupid. I was like, oh, I thought it was just saying that it was a whiskey festival in Texas. I didn't realize that it was a whiskey festival with Texas whiskey only. So the guy was like, you're in Louisiana. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, so you can't.
That's not Texas.
You can't come here. And I'm like, oh, it's Texas Whiskey Festival, not a whiskey festival. All right. We do not have one like that that's exclusive to Louisiana brands. And a little bit in the argument there, I mean, we don't have as many brands as Texas does. Right. We're not that big. Right. But we do have, so Lake Charles, we have a smoke and barrel, which is like a small little thing, about probably like 25 different vendors and samples with a bunch of barbecue and stuff to go with it. Awesome. A lot of fun. Lake Charles. We have the Louisiana Bourbon Festival, which is the Bourbon Society of Baton Rouge. They put it on, and it sponsors, raises money for Alzheimer's. and that's usually in like September, October, depending on when it falls. And then we have New Orleans Bourbon Festival. So that was just a couple weeks ago. That's in New Orleans.
Okay.
Those are probably our three major ones that I know of that are there, but they're not exclusive just to Louisiana.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So let me I'll talk to a couple people and we'll see if we can't get you guys over to Texas, because I feel like Texas people need to know some of this rice whiskey.
That's
because
the only
so like the only other rice whiskey I know of is a Japanese rice whiskey.
Yeah.
And I can't say
different.
It's completely different. It's completely different. So people, I feel like people need to be in on that, because, it's, I don't know. There's something different. Like there's been a craze in like rye whiskey lately. Everybody's all into rye whiskey, which is great. I like rye whiskey. Don't get me wrong. But like, and then now I know there's a couple distilleries here in Texas that use a lot of wheat. They use a lot of wheat in their distillate. All good. Why aren't we doing rice? You know what I mean? Why aren't we showcasing rice whiskey? So we need to get you over here. Maybe, and I don't know how that works, because that might be it's a closed event. So I don't know if that would work, but we need to get you to maybe the Whiskey Vault up in Austin. Every year not the vault, it's the tribe now. Every year they do a big whiskey festival as well, and they have everybody from Lost Lantern. They had Teeling whiskey from Ireland there. They have, so it's not just Texas brands. It would be really cool to see y'all there and have more people that are whiskey nerds into you guys' brand. Okay, so
telling everybody that we are now available in Texas.
Absolutely, that's really exciting. So now I got to look. Are you at like Total Wine and?
Yep, we're at Total Wine and Specs and Independence, Longhorns, things like that. We are. So I have an app. If you go website that you just pinned, or you can go to the Apple Store or Google Play. You just type in Jt Meleck. We have an app, and on there there's a map to show you your nearest location, but there's also a feature that says we have 3 barrels right now, 3 blue labels, single barrels at cask strength available in Texas. They're at 60 spec stores, and it tells you which barrels in which location. So they're surrounded in the major markets, and so people can find that, and then they can find those accounts will also have our whiskey and our vodka. But yes, we're in the Total Wines, we're in the Specs. Those are big for us because there's so many locations to have us. Like that alone, we don't have the inventory to literally put it in every single location in Texas. So to be in these big accounts is really great for us because it helps us get into the major cities. So we have our vodka, we have the big boy, the 750, and then we have our small batch, and we have 3 single barrels in Texas currently.
That's awesome. I'm going to download that app as soon as we are off so that I can find the nearest one to me. It's probably going to be Austin or San Antonio. Anyway, but okay. What did I have one more question for you? What was it? I didn't write it down like I was going to. So, okay, let's, you had already kind of talked about future. Do you have any plans of doing, like you had said something about a gin, but you're not making gin. Have you thought about maybe doing a crawfish type something? I don't know. There's so much stuff out there, and I mean, obviously the whiskey's great, but you don't want to shoehorn yourself into one area. I don't know. What does the future hold, I guess, for you guys?
It really comes down to kind of what we're able to do and just remaining consistent and making sure that we're staying true to the value of adding value to our rice crop. So we'll say we did a couple years ago, we did dabble around with making a rice bourbon. Okay. But things got so crazy that we had to kind of like abandon ship, and it was just a lot of moving parts. That process would not be grain to bottle because it has 51% corn, so we would be buying that. We're not corn farmers. But we do have 6 random barrels that are 5 years old that we'll be tasting in a few months, like nothing to do. I have no idea. I didn't really dabble with that because we played around with it, but for me, I was just like the rice whiskey for me is the thing that's different that nobody else has. You know, the other bourbon, unless it becomes incredible. If it's incredible, we're going to be knocking ourselves over the head being like, holy crap, we abandoned that one and look at that. But we just didn't have the resources. It was around the same time that there was a barrel shortage, a major one. I don't know if you remember that. Right after COVID, somebody made a post about like oak trees going extinct. And all the major brands bought every single barrel. We had a 6-month timeline where we couldn't get any barrels whatsoever from it, no cooperage. And so we just had to abandon ship on that one. We will be holding, we have some 6 years this year. We're holding about 10% of the ones that we held back 30% for 6 years. And then we're going to hold 10% of that to see if we can make it to 8. But we don't know. We have a lot of angel share.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not really weather that affects us, it's the humidity. And it's really difficult. We basically just have to fill our barrels, palletize, and let them sit and hope that they have whiskey in it later. We don't move them. We don't weigh them. We don't do anything. We don't have a lot of leakers. There's some problem children that do lie on their sides, but we'll find that it just dries right up. We had a barrel that we pulled. We now pull a couple, like if I'm doing a single barrel, I'll choose my numbers and my samples, and then I'll have Brett, our distiller, physically pull those barrels, weigh them, and give me a weight for a projected yield. Because I pulled a barrel one time, we had a sample, and then when we dumped it, there was literally 2 ounces in there, nothing. The angels just dropped the whole thing. So I had to call the guy and be like, "Hey, by the way, there's nothing in there." Cool. Yeah, like awesome. And it's just like no leaking. Yeah, there was no leaking. No patterns, no like we examined. It was a beautiful barrel, clean, nothing around it. There wasn't like some drip and we're like, oh crap, there it is. You know, nothing. It went into the pallet, and then he brought the pallet on our forklift and threw it on the ground, and it was wet. The whole thing. Oh gosh. And it slowly evaporated. It just came in and it's like the rice, the whiskey just wants to expand into wood. So it's just the humidity and the rice already being a sticky grain, I guess you could say. It just wants to go out and fold into anything around it. It's almost like I feel like it's like a disease almost, you know, it's just like wants to get out there and attach itself to everything. I'm like, stay in the barrel.
Absolutely. So I thought of another question and then we can get off after this if you'd like. But so your barrels, do you do anything specifically different to them? And if you can't answer this question, I understand. But like, like the bourbon guys, they use char number 3, heavy toast char number 3 or whatever. Are you doing something different? Because I prefer when they do a lighter char and a heavier toast. But I mean, it just kind of depends upon the distillery and finding all that. So
yeah. So when we started this, like I said, there was no data on anything rice. Right. We wanted like a bold spirit, something that was really going to stand out. But at the end of the day, we didn't know what the rice was going to do. And so we talked to a bunch of people, and basically at the end of the day, we're still in we've been in a bourbon hype for, I would say, like a decade. And so people were still in, that's what it was. That's the only thing we really knew. So we just framed everything that we did was based on a bourbon. So we called all these different cooperages. We asked insight, and we basically, because we had no idea what we were doing, all around it was just hoping to goodness. So we have 3 styles actually that are coming that will be in the next 2 years. We've consistently lately stuck with about 2 or 3 cooperages at about like a char 4. We did some data. We changed it a little bit because we were doing more char 1, but it was showing that in long term, like going 8 to 10 years, it turns really rugged. Like that's not the word it said, but what I call it, like really like not bitter, but it starts off sweet. Like it's for profiles of sweet, which a rice has the sweet natural sweetness to it. So it adapts well to that. But then in 8 to 10, we went to our cooperage and they showed us like the data report, and it basically went like this, and then it goes like shoots up, and it like completely changes the profile. And we were like, ooh, whoa. So
we don't want that.
We don't want that. And it's possible because our whiskey ages more rapid. And I don't mean like time, obviously it's still the same time, but people that blind our 4-year with some other 6 or 8 have no idea that it's a 4. It does not taste like a 4. It tastes way old, especially our ones that are direct from the barrel. Like we had a couple rounds are 190s. They were so dark and they were blinded. A lot of people thought they were 8 years, and they just came out beautifully. And so we knew that the rapidness of the rice and how aggressive it is with the barrel, we decided to kind of change. Now you won't see that, and it hasn't made any negative because most of the time we're pulling in between 4 and 5, so we haven't really seen that. But we are starting to test into our 6. The last thing we want is it's exceptional, and we can't, if the angels aren't taking it, we can't get to 8 or 10 because it just completely ruins the whole thing. And so we are in about 8 months, we will go to consistent about 3 cooperages. And then we're trying to just do 2, like consistently just do 2. It's tough. We had like 5 or 6 because nobody knew who we were. And we would call these people and like, oh no, we're 6 months out. I have 1 barrel. So we get, yeah, sure. We'll take 1 barrel. We'll call somebody else. I can give you 2 barrels in a month. Okay, great. We'll take 2. We just accumulated all these random barrels from everywhere. Sadly enough, some of our best single barrels is from a cooperage that burnt down and is no longer available, which is really heartbreaking. But it's tough to just pick one because some of them are really good blending barrels and some of them just make exceptional single barrels. And then other ones, it's just like, it just makes those like, what is this? You know, like just, so we haven't been able to bring down from less than 3. So we are currently doing 3, kind of on a char 4, but we have we're consistently doing a char 4, but we have 3 styles that have been coming to the market from putting down since 2018. And we have a new American oak. So we took the same process as bourbon and what they do.
Right.
Yep.
Right. That's really amazing. And one of the things while you were explaining that, it made me think of, you guys, like you said, you had no idea what it was going to taste like, all of these things. So even now, today, you were still like, what does this taste like at 8 years? We don't know until we get to 8 years and we pull it out of the barrel and be like, this is amazing. Or it does have a timeline, or, you know, because like most people say that like Kentucky bourbons are really at their best between 6 and 8 years. You know, that's just what they say. I don't personally care. There is some that are older that are better, whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, until you do the data on it, and you guys are paving the way for that data, unfortunately, and cool for you guys at the same time. It's like, it sucks because you don't know, like you said, you don't want to sit on those barrels for 20 years and then they suck or they have nothing in them when you get done. But at the same time, you don't want to like miss an opportunity to release an older age stated whiskey. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. You're just like figuring it out every day. And I'll tell you, like, I guess probably the one thing that COVID did was the only blessing that it was, is it actually kept Jt Meleck alive. Because talking about when it's going to taste like, at year 2, our whiskey did not taste very good. We tasted it, and everyone told us we tasted every 6 months if we were impatient. You know, I mean, we consistently tasted like every month for that first year until we stopped because it became like time moves much slower. Like, holy crap! And the experts kept saying at 2, see it at 2, and you'll know what the growth. Like, you'll get your basis, and then you'll know how it'll grow. And let me tell you, if it hadn't been the timeline, we had to switch everything to hand sanitizer. We kind of just had to put it on the side. But I mean, weeks before we tasted this, and we almost shut down the whole thing because it did not. God. We sent it to people. I remember tasting it and not knowing what to say because I was just like, this is not what I hoped it would be. Like, exactly. I was just like, my father was heartbroken. A little puppy. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just not us. Maybe we don't like, so we sent it to all these specialists. Some of them didn't even call us back. One guy was like, well, you tried. Like, one guy, literally, I remember, you tried, Mike, you tried. And if we hadn't switched to hand sanitizer and had to go all this time of all of our companies trying to keep everything going as everybody was trying to survive, by the time we came back to it, it was almost 3 years, and it was beautiful. We almost stopped everything. Like, and one of the specialists told us, he was like, I told you, just not in the cards for rice. Everybody would be making rice if you could do it. Like, what'd you think? You were just going to be the first one to make it? Like, you know, like, and shit. Jt Meleck almost ended that day. Like, it's quite wild to think about. It's definitely very emotional. Like, and then thank God we sampled that thing coming out of it. If it had still been bad, we would have never waited for 3.5 or 4 years. We would have just cut it completely. Like, and so, yeah, it's very emotional, every single day. And then, I heard this phrase, somebody said it, and it was like a hypocrite is just a developing person. As in, like, you say something today and then tomorrow you say something completely different because you've learned something, but you sound like a hypocrite almost. And I really like that. I don't necessarily know if I like the word hypocrite, but I really understand that, because if there's one phrase to put on us, it's one day it's like, oh no. And the next day it's like, absolutely, let's go. And then the next day it's like, what was I thinking? Never do that again.
Yep. Uh-oh. She gone. You broke it. No, we're good.
God, what did I do?
You broke the internet. You got too excited and broke the internet.
Wait till I tell my husband. He's gonna be like, yeah, that's
You did it again. We're back again. What happened?
Broke the system.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so before we go, to let everybody know where we can find you. Obviously, jtmeleck.com, but your social stuff like that.
Yes, the best thing to find us quickly is through our app. So it's on the Apple Store, on Google Play. That is updated daily by me. You can chat with me. I'm not always the fastest because it doesn't send push notifications. I'm trying to fix it, but it just sends the chat, and I have to remember to go back. Probably the fastest chat I am is Instagram, because it pops up like a text message. So you can get me really fast on Instagram. But we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have a Rice Water Crew, which is a Facebook group that I run, that it has about 1,300 people right now, and it grows every day. And everyone just posts like the insider information on Jt Meleck. So they're like post what they have, or like when they find a blue label, they'll post it on there. Or they find whiskey. So that's a great thing for people that want to talk about Jt Meleck in that group. I have a TikTok, and then the app gives you everywhere right now. The feature, like I said, in Texas, we are in Texas. It'll give you those locations on a map based on your zip code. But if you go to the feature, I also have the 3 specs barrels that are live right now, and I have what each barrel and which location each one is in. So that way you can go. You don't have to worry about calling all of them or going. You can go there, assuming they still have product. I would think they just dropped it on Friday, so they should.
Right. Okay.
Tell everybody. I'm trying not to be too break again.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on here and talking with us. And I know that all the fans are going to love this, and they're going to really, I think they're going to dive in as well. We're going to go in the rice fields. What do you call them? The rice paddy fields? What are they called?
Just rice fields. But you know what? I just realized that you're putting this out in like a month, so those barrels probably won't even be there.
It's okay. It's no big deal.
Maybe they will. Maybe they'll find random ones on the shelf.
Maybe they will. And here's the deal. I'll buy all of them. I'm joking. No, but anyway, it's not a big deal. That's the issue with recording is I can't put it out. I recorded with somebody and they were releasing a special release the next day, and I'm like, I can't turn and burn this. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I have a schedule, which is good. I'm glad that I'm busy, but at the same time, it's like, Lord, I want to support everybody at the same time. But okay. We are going to get out of here. Stick on real fast. I want to talk to you after, but make sure you go to jtmeleck.com and get you some of their get on their app and find some of their whiskey. And until next time, keep your spirits up. All right, guys. Today we are going to see if Jt Meleck rice whiskey is any good. Let's check it out. All right, guys. Thank y'all for coming back. So I just did a podcast with Jt Meleck. Amazing people. Mia, she's great. And she sent over some samples for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to dive into those samples. I also purchased a bottle, and we're going to jump into those two. So you're going to get 3 reviews in one video. So it might be a little longer content, but just stick with me because it's really, really cool stuff. And sorry, I've been outside in the yard. My hair might be a little mess. But let's dip into it. And the first one, it's gonna throw you off. Are you ready? You ready to see it? Look, just watch. Yeah, Jt Meleck vodka. I said it. Ready for the crack? Cracked it. Fresh crack. I am going to pour it in my bougie glass. Not a lot, because I am not the vodka shaman, right? I don't know a whole lot about vodka. All I know is this is distilled from rice. They do have a hybrid still. See, I'm using my bougie glass for this one. It smells very light. Let me give you this. Let me give you some specs on it. I'm sorry. It's 40% IBV. It's been triple distilled. I'm almost certain. Let me double check. This is the small batch 224. And what they do is they have different seasons because they grow their own rice there. And so each season has it's not a different style, but like it gives it that's why they call it like with their aged whiskey, it says for 4+ years because it's one of those things where like it's a little bit more than 4 years. It's seasonal. So, all right, I can't really smell a whole lot on the nose, which is what vodka is supposed to be. So one of those things. Oh wow, that's really nice. It's a little sweet, has a little sweetness to it. It's really light. Really, there's not a whole lot there, which is vodka. That's what it's supposed to be, right? But it has a nice little bit of sweetness. It doesn't taste like rice. It doesn't taste like anything like that. And then going back on the nose, you don't get the ethanol burn that you normally would with like most vodkas. Not bad. Not bad. I'm trying to think of anything else that I can pick out of there. Maybe a little, not much, which for vodka, that's what you want. That's really interesting. I forgot my water. All right, I'm back. I got some water in my trusty. I know you're not supposed to drink out of Yetis, whatever. After all I've been through, what's a little lead poisoning, right? I've already been poisoned by chemo. It's fine. Okay. Wow, sorry. Okay, so let's move on. Watch the podcast. Listen to the podcast, whatever. I'm trying to get numbers up on Spotify and Apple. So if you want to go listen to it, then you can watch it. However you want to do it. It doesn't matter. There is some, seeing it face-to-face, like on a video, sometimes people like that, or sometimes people like to put headphones in and mow the yard or whatever. Okay, let's get into the small batch. All right, let me find the clicker for that one. I love the closure on it. Like, it's so easy to get off. I just did a podcast with Natterjack, and he said he had to make the closure extremely tight because it fell off on a boat, and next thing you know, there was a whole bunch of whiskey all on a boat from China. And all the boats to China are very slow, right? So we're going to do a mild size pour. We're not going to do anything crazy. Now, I will tell you that the other one that I have, I've enjoyed. Sampled out a bunch of it, stuff like that. So let's get into it. All right. On the nose, it's vanilla, caramel, chocolate, like a light chocolate though. Really milk chocolate, like milk chocolate. Wow. Very much different. What a little, now it's not vodka that they barrel aged, obviously. They did distill this through a column and they used their pot for the other one. So you do get some richer oils out of it. So it's very different from the vodka, obviously. I'm trying to pick out something else. There's something else there rice whiskey, it's a strange, not strange in a bad way, but it's a strange grain to use, right? Because it's very finicky, and it wants to scorch, and it wants to do all the things. It's hard to do a conversion on. Anyway, it's a proprietary thing that, that's why in like sake baijiu, they use koji culture, right? So let me get in. Oh, okay. It has a little leather, little tobacco, a little bit, not a whole lot. It's almost like, but it's super. It has a sweetness to it as well, which is I'm guessing, since I got it in the vodka, I'm guessing it comes over as that's the grain note, whatever. It's just like an inherent sweetness. It's not like really a certain thing. If I had to put a thing on it, it would be like cotton candy sweetness, but not that like where it's like sticky. It's not that. It's just like a sugary sweetness is all I can think of. And then going back to the nose, now it's getting it has a little bit of maybe a cherry or a blackberry smell to it. Nothing too crazy, right? It's real light. Wow. Let me get one more. Okay. Let me take you on the ride. It comes in. It hits the tip of your tongue, and then once it hits the tip of your tongue, it kind of explodes into caramel vanilla bomb, right? And then you get a little bit of that cherry cough drop note, and then it finishes off in the very back of your palate with like a milky chocolate part, with an inherent sweetness, like a glaze over the top of everything I just said. And the barrel influence is really nice. I don't know, man. This is pretty good stuff. Going back to the nose, now I get a little bit of cinnamon, just a hint of cinnamon. Okay, I'm gonna take one more little sip, and then I'm gonna drink some water. Got those lined up over there because I'm not trying to get schnockered already. You know what I mean? That's for later. No, drink responsibly, drink respectfully. You know. I think the proof point was nice on it. I really do. Guys, please follow, like, subscribe, please. I'm trying to get numbers up everywhere. If you're not following, please follow. If you like this, please do. And think about subscribing. And if you need to contact me in any way, whiskeyshotpodcast@gmail.com. That's the best way to find me. If you have any requests or anything like that, and if you would like to be a honorary shaman, shamanette, whatever you want to call it, and you want to support monetarily to help this thing grow, go over to patreon.com/thewhiskeyshaman and see what there's different tiers there that you can pick out. I released Patreon exclusive episodes. I do early releases on everything that I do. So they'll get this like a week earlier than you guys do. So, it's just one of those things. It is a monetary investment, obviously, but if it's something that you feel entitled to do, we would greatly appreciate it. And thank you, of course, to our sponsors. That Motivator Barrels, there'll be a link down below that you can click. They'll get you a barrel. They're right behind me. Really cool barrels. And Z.Smith Whiskey and Mixology. Zach is an amazing guy doing amazing things with whiskey. He's opening bars. He's making bar lists. He's doing all the things. He's working with distilleries. He's an amazing guy. So go see Badmo and Z.Smith Whiskey and Mixology. All right, enough. Get that out of the way. No, it's just I need a little water in this glass. I did clean the glass, but it has like some funk in it. So let's see. Okay, now the small batch was amazing. Okay, now let's get into this one. Yeah, you see it has a different label, right? This is the Jt Meleck single barrel cask strength barrel 248, coming in at 60.85%, 4 years old, 121 proof, 121.7, whatever, if you want to get real chinchy about it. As you know, as you can see, I have dipped into this. I bought this bottle sight unseen after talking to Mia, and it has been a joy to have. And I actually got my my cousin to pick up another bottle because this was at the local Specs that they had. It was a Specs single barrel. And normally Specs single barrels are gaga. You know, they're not great because it's just give me a barrel. They don't care about the barrel. They just want a barrel. But Jt Meleck hand delivered this one. And this was hand selected by the guy from that particular Specs. So it is a little different. This has been a great bottle. I've really enjoyed it. And reasonably priced for a cast strength 4-year-old rice whiskey. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. Let's get into this one. Okay, so remember everything I said about the original one. Why did it go off the screen? I don't know. Remember everything I said about the original one. This one is amped up and ramped up, and it's oily and viscous. I'm not a proof hound. I don't care. I love some good 40% stuff. So, but this is super oily and dank. I hate to use the word dank because it reminds me of something else, you know. But it is so sweet and caramel or caramel, however you want to say it. I don't care how you say it. Just say it, right? It is really just nice, and it has a little fruit note to it as well. Let's get into the taste. So it hits you right here in the back of the throat with that heat. Of course, these are the first drinks I've had today, obviously. It's pretty early. Wow. I need to go back into that. I'm going to get a little water because that heat hit me in the back. But as it's lingering and going, and you're getting they're from Louisiana, so you're getting the Louisiana whatever. Louisiana Cajun two-step. Oh wait, no, that's wrong guy. Okay, so vanilla, caramel, brown sugar, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because it's in my mind, and I know it's in yours too, right? I know it is. We're drinking rice whiskey, right? So what does it make you think of when you're talking about caramel, vanilla, brown sugar? You're thinking of sticky rice, right? Like the sticky, you know, rice that you get that you put sugar and cinnamon and all that. It is that. Now, it does not taste like the rice, right? It does not taste like rice. It. How do I explain it? It's very difficult because I don't really have a marker for rice whiskey. You know, like it's one of those things. I don't have a marker for it. But the marker that I have now is this really just velvety texture that just coats your tongue. And the barrel influence on this is very prominent. It's very prominent. The grain is that sweetness, and that's pretty much it. Whereas corn, it tastes like corn. It's kind of corny. Rye, you know rye. And wheat, it presents differently sometimes. Triticale or something like that. It has a distinct flavor. Whereas rice, this, especially with this, it has a flavor, but I can't pinpoint what it is. And I need to sit down with this and deep dive into this a little bit more, especially the small batch, getting the water in it. Like I always tell you, drink it if it's presented at cast strength, drink it at cast strength, and then add a little water to it. Drop it down a little bit to see what happens when you release those oils in there, but for two, when you proof it down a little bit and the burn is not as much. Like this doesn't burn anymore. After the first sip, it doesn't burn anymore. But yeah, just I'm gonna have to sit down with this a little more. On the nose, more of the same. Sticky rice, sweet rice, whatever you want to call it. we used to have, back in the day, we used to have sweet rice. We'd just get Uncle Ben's, put some sugar and some vanilla extract in it. It's similar to that. But that's just preconceived, right? That's preconceived because you think it's rice whiskey. You're thinking rice, so it's automatically that's what you're getting. But it's a lot more complex than that. It really is. It's a lot more complex than that. I would like to see this aged in a used barrel. You know what I mean? One that's already been used, or maybe a finished barrel. Not that I want you guys to change. You guys are doing amazing stuff. So even the vodka, was great. Sorry, I had to do the countdown so you don't think you lost me there. Dude, that is so nice. It has such a cool flavor. Unlike any other whiskey I've had. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. It's unlike any whiskey I've had. It is sweet and caramel toffee. It is a dessert. It's a dessert in a glass. But you have that spice. You have that bite of the proof of it that it's really just giving you everything you want. Like this would be a night-ending whiskey, Start off with a Natterjack, right? A Natterjack 40%. Get you going. And then dip into the small batch and then finish with that cask strength. Or start out with a vodka tonic with the vodka. If you want to do that. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think of rice whiskey? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to tag this on the back end of the actual podcast. It'll be a review. So here's my final thoughts. My final thoughts on Jt Meleck Distillery, for one, and the products that they're creating. It's not even good. Okay, whatever. Thumbs up. They're amazing. They really are. They're doing amazing things. And they're different than anybody else. Listen to the podcast. Like I said, it's a crawfish farm. It's a crazy. We lost connection like 3 times. I don't know how you lose connection 3 times, but we did. Mia's. I hope her name is Mia, not Maya. I think it's Mia. MIA, right? Mia was a ball of energy, which I loved, which made it for a really great podcast. This is like the review of the podcast, which is kind of cool. She really did an amazing job, and she loves her brand. It's a family brand for one, but she loves her brand, and that to me is really cool. If you have so much pride in a product that you're making, just a product, but she has so much pride, and it shows on the back. They have a seafood delivery company as well. I mean, there's so many things that they have a lot of irons in the fire. Irons in the fire. I said it right. I actually said it right. So if you haven't heard of Jt Meleck, now you have. And I'm not going to be the first because there's other people out there that have talked about Jt Meleck in the past and how they're doing amazing stuff. But if they blow up, your boy needs some cred on that, okay? So I appreciate y'all being here, and I thank you guys so much for the support and the love through all the stuff that's going on. It's getting hot this summer. I got the AC going already. It's supposed to be 92 today. Oh, man, I can't wait for the summer. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. But I love you guys, and thank you so much. And, go out and find some Jt Meleck. They do have a website that you can order from, and they do ship to Texas. They're doing a lot of work over here in Texas, and I'm trying to get them more into Texas. They're right next door, right there in Louisiana. So if you're on a road trip this summer, stop by Jt Meleck. Stop by there and do a pull straight out of the barrel. Dude, that would be amazing. I'd love to do that. We had talked about doing a little road trip, but, I'm trying to get back to work. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I can't thank Jt Meleck and Mia enough for coming on the podcast, talking to me. Little old me, and then sending over samples, these aren't samples. That's a full freaking bottle, So I so much appreciate it, and I appreciate everything that they're doing, and I will have links to all their stuff in the comments down below or in the description or whatever you want to call it. But I really want you guys to love one another, drink responsibly, and drink respectfully. And as always, keep your spirits up.